What I've enjoyed most about my placement at WiseTech is just how welcoming and supportive everyone is. With each rotation, I've had two great mentors who are always here to support you and help you grow.
What I've enjoyed the most about WiseTech is the variety of people I've gotten to meet.
It's a support network that's created for the interns because it's been really nice to share the experience with similar-minded people.
Seeing how software is created in the real world.
The supportive environment.
Meeting new people. It's really hard to meet new people during these COVID times. So being able to see some fresh faces and learn from them was a nice change.
What I've most enjoyed about my placement at WiseTech was working with industry professionals because it really gives you a sense of what life's like after university.
Be open-minded and to have a can-do attitude. Be confident in what you're capable of doing and what you know, but also be okay with not knowing everything or not knowing what to do.
You only have a short period of time here, so try and make the most of it by learning as much as you can.
My advice to someone who's starting at WiseTech would be to try out different things because you will be supported by the people who work here.
Come in with a growth mindset and be willing to try new things.
Talk to as many people as you can. Not only does this really help you understand WiseTech and the way it works much faster, but it's also just so much fun to get to know all these different people.
Hi everyone, I'm Richard White, the CEO and founder of WiseTech Global. I've always had a real interest in technology. Even before I got into computers, I was really interested in technology generally. Early on in my career, I got some contracting jobs with logistics companies, and I realized that their systems were very poor, very disjointed, and in need of major rework. And I thought it was a problem that was large enough and complex enough that was really worth solving. It would be very powerful to solve the problem well. I was able to take the initial problem set of international freight forwarding and customs procedures and turn that into a very valuable, highly sophisticated global business. This is a very complex area of business because you have to pass through two borders. And at that point, goods have to be cleared through a customs procedure. And as well as that, the logistics of the goods as they move has to be planned and optimized. And we build a system and deliver that system to our customers that is a complete solution for most of those capabilities and problems that you have to do international trade. We have customers in 130 plus countries, and we have a huge amount of the world's capabilities available to us on our platform, and we're growing it every single day. And we've become, a very, very standard system for the industry to use. I've always been very curious about how things work, and I've liked to solve problems, and I like to understand what tools you can have to solve problems, and I like to innovate and create new ideas that solve problems. And all of those things together, plus the tenacity to keep moving, to keep pushing forward, and the ability to impassion yourself and the people around you to drive value and to create something of lasting significance is a really important part of the journey to building a successful business. Well, I think technology companies and technology people have always been at the forefront of cultural change and cultural adaptation. And COVID created a catalyst. Technology companies adapted incredibly smoothly and quickly, particularly WiseTech. We were thinking about going out of the workplace in March 2020, which was before anybody else was doing it in Australia. And by the middle of April, everywhere in the world that we had a business, people were working from home. And actually our productivity went up. Our people were able to continue to do their great work and be creative and innovative and powerful and deliver on time and do wonderful things with software whilst working together and yet digitally very connected but physically very remote. Well, I think first of all, technology has always been an industry that creates change and makes things better. It enables people to use their intelligence and their sophistication and their education and their abilities in ways that 20, 30, 40 years ago were unthinkable. It creates a very strong employment environment for people who want a stable and strong employment. It creates value for our communities and for our countries. Well, there's a couple of fundamentals that you have to build a clever business on. If you're going to be an innovator, you're going to be a disruptor. The whole idea about the status quo is that we're going to change it. And so you need a certain type of people that think differently, that want to work together to make a difference. And you can't get all that in one person. You have to have that in groups of people. And those groups of people need to work together to create that environment where unconventional ideas can come forward and questions can be challenging and people can disagree about things to get to the better answer. And you need a lot of things that are created when you have a diverse and inclusive workforce. That's really kind of the secret sauce. Well, remember that a technology company is still a business and it still has a lot of facets. It's not like every single person in WiseTech is a software developer. That's not true at all. We have marketing people, we have sales people, we have finance people, we have legal people. There are a lot of facets that are not cutting code. I happen to think that writing software is a very significant and powerful idea, and that by itself it does create the fundamental of the company, but there are a lot of capabilities that are needed in any company to make things good. When you're dealing with a large organization, which is largely about people working together, everybody has to have the ability to either find people with soft skills or to have those soft skills. The ability to inspire people, to drive passion into the business, to create that idea where curiosity is allowed and asking difficult questions is allowable is a fundamental idea. They're the skills that people need in order to bring everybody together and actually have people create something new and different and better. Well, I think you should give it very strong consideration. At first blush, technology seems like it's tough, hard to do, but you know, I can tell you that technology is a very cool industry with some fantastic people in it, and it's freeing of your lifestyle. It creates an environment where you can do things that you could never have thought possible. We support the movement of hundreds of millions of transactions of goods moving across borders every day of the year, and I think that's a really powerful thing. We are making a difference in society. We're making a valuable contribution to the Australian economy. We're giving a lot of our staff an important and valuable career, and we're making a difference to the world in terms of our social and economic and our environmental responsibilities.
Hi, I'm Chris Phipps. I've been working at WiseTech since April as a software engineer. It's a typical workday. Start around 8:30, check some of the stuff I've been working on the day before, and then I'd have a stand-up with the rest of my team. Then after that, I'd be working on the items that I've been allocated for that day. Later on in the afternoon, I'd talk to my mentor about any issues I'm having with anything that I'm working on. I'd heard about WiseTech from a few friends of mine, and after hearing so much about them for so long, it got to a point where I just thought, I'm just going to reach out to them and see if I can get a job here. And that's exactly what happened. My favorite thing as a software developer is, you spend hours or days trying to solve a particular problem, and once you finally break through and solve it, it's the best feeling in the world. You feel like you're improving every day, and it's just a fantastic feeling. Bit cliche, but as a kid, I loved video games, and I loved solving problems. And I was one of those kids who just loved spending a lot of time on the computer. And eventually I got introduced to programming, and I loved that. And I decided from then on that I wanted to work in that field. So some advice I give to myself in high school, if I was in high school now, try learning a bit of programming online. There's so many resources out there. You're spoiled for choice these days. But yeah, just give it a go. Myself, I only really started getting into programming once I took a computing course in my first year of university. And that was kind of my moment, I guess. And after that, I've just been completely hooked. So yeah, definitely give it a try if you're interested. My team's really cool. So I'm currently on my 3rd rotation. So I started that rotation 3 weeks ago. The rotation program, basically for me, I've spent 8 weeks in different teams, just seeing what different teams we have in the company. Currently working in a team called BorderWise, which is a smaller team. I spent 2 other rotations in our core team and what's known as our Glow team. All very different teams, different sizes, so it's been really cool. So having a mentor is one of the best things at WiseTech, because coming into this company, I hadn't worked at a software company before. I was feeling a bit anxious about lots of things. So being able to draw on my mentor's experience was really valuable to me, as well as knowing like what the best things for me to learn would be going forward in my career. So I found that really helpful. One project I've been working on recently has been to help code up an interface for something that scrapes information from the web, basically putting information in a nice, easy to read format for our clients to use. Biggest lesson I've learned since starting my career is never be afraid to ask for help. Sounds like it's common sense, but coming into my first job, I felt like I had to know a lot of things just to be here. But there's nothing wrong with reaching out to other people around you. They want you to succeed as much as you do. If you are interested in getting a foot in the door into the world of tech, you can check out the NCSS challenge. It doesn't matter if you've never done programming before or you've been doing programming for a couple of years. It's a great place to start. There's a lot of content there, and it's probably the best place to go if you want to see if tech's right for you.
Well, thank you for that presentation. We have a few questions here for you today, and also Michael Ambrose will be joining us for the Q&A section. The first question is for both of you guys. I'll let Chris answer it first. Can you recommend any courses I should take before proceeding further with my job search?
Yeah, really good question. If I was in your situation right now, I guess it depends what you're into, what you're trying to get into. But myself recently, I've been even watching this guy's YouTube videos. He's a guy called Net Ninja. He has a lot of online free courses about a lot of front-end stuff. So that's a lot of JavaScript related stuff like that, lots of different libraries. So that's a really good starting point if you just want to check some different technologies out.
Yeah. Michael, did you want to add anything to that?
No, I think Chris covered that off pretty well. Thanks.
The next question is, what social obligations go along with a job in your field? I'll let Michael answer this question.
So I guess referring to like what kind of good we're doing for the world, is that what the question's asking?
I'm not very sure. I'm assuming like work and social, how do you manage that?
Okay, so I guess we have at the moment we're all working from home, but there are still quite a lot of different kind of clubs and groups of people that get together to talk about different interests they have, and when we're all in the office, that you see that a lot more as well. But we have a beer o'clock on a Friday during what we might describe as normal times, where the whole company gets together and has a bit of food and has a drink. Yeah.
Chris, can you explain more about the mentoring in WiseTech Global?
Yeah, sure. So when you first start at WiseTech, you get given a mentor who's someone you can go to for basically any question you have. They're like your first point of contact. So when I first joined, my mentor kind of guided me through setting everything up, all the things I needed to know to just do my day-to-day job. And yeah, it's the best thing ever. I think the best part of having a mentor for me was, like I said in the video, I was really nervous when I first came into the company. So being able to talk to someone who also went through that exact same thing and what they learned from it and how to handle it, that was really, really valuable to me.
Yeah. The next question I'll let Chris answer as well. Are there a lot of females working at WiseTech?
Yeah, there certainly are. In every team I've been in, both software and products people, there've been lots of female people working in the teams I've been in.
Yeah. Michael, what are some ways to enter WiseTech Global?
And then the most obvious one is to just have a look at our job board and apply for a job ad that we're advertising. But it's something that I always encourage people, not just when applying for a job at WiseTech, but any job, is to do a bit of research and find the different people within the organization and reach out to them directly. There's no harm in putting yourself out there, making an introduction, showing that you're keen. So yeah, just reaching out directly is another great way to do it. Even if you don't see a job that you think is relevant to you, you never know what else is going on in the company.
Yeah, to add to that, actually, I literally got my job because I messaged Michael on LinkedIn, and there was no job listing at the time for what I wanted, so I can definitely vouch for that.
Yeah, the next question is for Richard, but I'm hoping that you two can answer it in some way. Hey Richard, how did you start this business, and what is the business's goal?
I can answer that if you want, Chris.
Yeah, go for it.
So the business actually started in a basement in Newtown in Sydney, and I think there were maybe 3 or 4 staff then. There's now well over 2,000. So, Richard comes from a technical background. Before he was involved in software, he actually was fixing guitars for bands like AC/DC and the Eagles and famous Australian bands. And then he eventually learnt to program when he was designing like lighting shows for music gigs. So I think he's ended up doing a bit of contracting work for people in freight forwarding, and he thought their systems were really bad and he thought they could be improved. So he decided that was, a problem he wanted to solve, and he started to solve that. And initially it was just for Sydney-based freight forwarders. That grew to be New South Wales, then Australia, and then, Australia and New Zealand. And then, now it's over 160 different countries. There are people in those countries that use the software that we build.
Yeah. The next question is, are there opportunities for self-employment in WiseTech Global? We can let Michael answer this.
Did you say for self-employment?
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure what that means. What's that? What are they asking there?
I'm not very sure either. I'll get back to you. Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we obviously have a lot of people employed, and if they mean that are there opportunities to be autonomous, like we don't have a high management or micromanagement in WiseTech, so we do hire people that can work independently.
Yeah. Considering all the people you've met in your field, what are some personal attributes essential for success?
That's a good question. So I think one of the key things is like a deep curiosity about how things work and why they work, particularly in engineering, but in all roles. If you're a curious person who wants to understand more about what you're working with or what you're learning or what you're doing, and who asks questions, who's always kind of looking to find out more, you're going to do well. So that having that curious mindset and that desire to understand things very deeply, and from an engineering perspective or a designing perspective, or when you're building things, it's really great to not just understand, to not just know that something does work, but to understand why it works, and then to be the kind of person that wants to tinker with it and make it better than it is currently. They're the kinds of attributes that do really well in technology careers, but I think also in any career.
Yeah. I'll let Chris answer the next question. What do you enjoy most about working at WiseTech Global?
So many things. People is definitely like up there. Like every person I've worked with on any team has just been amazing. Just the ability to just talk to anyone at any time about anything related to your job is just fantastic. But I just love I love solving real world problems, and I love the best thing that I've experienced recently is like, if say I fix something or I make something and then I see other more experienced people using it, or other our clients using it, that always just makes me feel like really happy and proud.
Yeah. The next question is also for Chris. Are you going to do further studying?
Good question. At the moment, I'm not really considering it. Who know, like I'll never rule it out, but for me personally, I felt like once I finished my undergraduate degree, that was enough studying for me. But who knows?
Yeah. Next question is, does WiseTech do work experience for high school students? I'll let Michael answer this question.
So we do. When we are in the office, it's something that we do offer. We've kind of put a pause on it while we're totally remote because we don't feel that, the work experience students can get the best experience out of it being, not being able to kind of, sit alongside the people they're working with. But it's definitely something that will pick up again next year when, things go back to a more, normal type of arrangement.
Yeah. How does WiseTech support employees looking to start their own businesses on the side? I'll let Michael answer this.
Sorry, say again. Geraldine?
Oh, how does WiseTech support employees looking to start their own businesses on the side?
Well, I guess the lessons that you learn from being in a large business and the lessons you learn from understanding how large businesses work. That's a great, support for people starting their own business on the side. We encourage our developers to be involved in open source communities, contributing to those kinds of projects. And we've actually had plenty of people that have worked for WiseTech and they've gone and started their own businesses on the side. So, as long as it's not a logistics business and you're using things that you've taken from WiseTech, it's something that a lot of people do.
Yeah. The next question I'll let Chris answer. What are your daily tasks?
Yeah. So at the moment, like I'm working on a project called Web Watcher. So basically what I need to do is I need to come up with like a design for it, think about like all the things that could potentially go wrong. And then after that, it gets reviewed by another person and then I'll code it up and test it to make sure that it's all working pretty well. So that's like the majority of my tasks.
Yeah. The next question is for both of you guys. I'll let Chris go first. What is the best decision and worst decision you have ever made? I'm assuming on career options.
On career, yeah. Okay. I wouldn't say there's like a best or worst decision. I'd say the best decision I made during high school, uni was just being willing to try lots of things and put myself out there. So that definitely ramped up a lot in university. I guess the worst decision I ever made was not doing it earlier. Yeah, that's pretty much the only regret I have to my career. Like you make mistakes along the way, but as long as you try stuff and learn from it, that's the best you can do.
Michael, did you want to answer?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I think the best decision I made was just being open to, to things that I may not have considered that I wanted to do and before, just kind of, saying yes to opportunities and starting to do it and learning that, there's actually a lot more to the workforce than you ever thought. When you're in high school, about maybe 5% of the jobs that are actually out there. And, if you're just open to say yes to things, then you kind of find your niche. And that certainly happened to me. I mean, I had no idea that, what I do at WiseTech was a job when I, left school, but I just kind of followed my path and was very open to change. And that's kind of landed me here. And I'm really happy in my job now. So I think that's kind of the best decision. And worst decision, I don't really have one particular example that I could point to. I'm pretty happy at the moment, so I'll leave that part.
Yeah. What are some challenges you face in WiseTech Global? I'm assuming this question is for both of you guys again. I'll let Michael go first.
Look, WiseTech's a global business and it's a company that has very high ambitions. We're looking to, be used by all the logistics organizations around the world. And the logistics industry is very large and complex. So there's a lot of, difficult problems that we have to solve. So I think just the ambition of WiseTech, the growth trajectory, what we want to do and achieve is it's challenging. And you know, we're lucky to be surrounded by very smart people, great people to try and meet those goals and challenges. But yeah, I guess that's probably the biggest challenge, is the actual ambition of what the company is trying to achieve means that there's just constantly new things to do, new projects to work on.
Yeah. What is the company's culture like, and what is your favorite thing about it? I'll let Chris answer this question.
Yeah, so as Michael said earlier, there's not too much like management structure is pretty flat. And one thing that I really love about it is that everyone's really open and willing to talk to each other. So we have this mantra called talk to anyone, anytime. So basically, if you have a question about something and you say you're working on a bit of code that someone else had written, and you want to find out a bit more about like how it's working under the hood or something, you can just message anyone at any time and just say, hey, I'd like to know how this works. Funny example of that, actually, I was working on a bit of code that someone in our US office had written. And because I just wanted to find out exactly what was going on, I just messaged him on Teams. I said, hey, I was just looking at your code. Can you explain this to me? And yeah, it's just awesome to be able to do that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we only have time for one final question, and it's for Chris. Would you want to work in WiseTech Global within the next few years?
Absolutely. Like the last 5-6 months has been absolutely awesome. I'm constantly like learning so much every single day. So yeah, I definitely want to keep working here. It's amazing, and just being surrounded by like all these cool people. Yeah, it's really motivating. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your presentation, Michael, Chris, and Richard.
No worries. Thanks for having us.
No worries. Yeah, thanks
Yeah.
so much for having us.